There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy, lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
Time to go vroom vroom, ladies and gents. We are ready for the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships from the glorious Mansell Raceway in Dunkeswell, just down the road from Honiton in Devon. And it is an absolutely gorgeous sunny afternoon. The green flag is flying for the first of our races. It's the repechage in the Rotax weekend, the third of the 2019 season for the British Kart Championships. Hello everybody, Jake Sanson here, getting ready for the first race, which as we've mentioned is the repechage for the junior Rotax category. It is Harry Gibson in pole position from Harry Holland, Mackenzie Cresswell and Max Edmondson come next. Then it is Daniel Armstrong and Oscar Hull from Taylor Babs and Ethan Leader, Daniel Briggs and Joshua Pillane from Machi Hamera and Reese Hurd, Jack Meakin and Jamil Rogers, then Ben Hearsey and CJ Morgan, Dylan West-Jackson and Josh Powell from Jordan Morris and Brandon Klein-Nagelvort. 12 minutes go on the clock as the competitors get themselves ready for action, and we are going to see a truly spectacular race weekend come to a conclusion. The first time ever that the Mansell Raceway has hosted the British Championships, and I have to say this is an amazing spectacle and an incredible racetrack. Half Kristianstad, half Monte Carlo. This is a very technical challenge for all of the drivers. The repechage about to get underway. 12 minutes on the clock and we get a clean start straight away. No, we don't. Sorry, false start. My apologies as we get into the first corner, and it looks to me as though we have got ourselves off to a clean start. Actually, my apologies. So my timing screen was a little delayed. So that's the reason. We got a little confused, but the drivers are getting themselves through now the first few corners, and it looks to me as though it is Harry Gibson who has taken the initiative out front and has started to make the big progress through the first part of the course. So the drivers are running in formation as they come through the first few sectors of the lap. They come up towards the tight Monaco-style section of the circuit where there's barely any runoff area at all. And now they come through that long hairpin at the far end of the circuit, down the long stretch, separated by the final chicane. And out in front, it looks to me as though it is the 28 of Harry Gibson who has held position as they come under my position here on the starting gantry. And the race is now well and truly joined. So Gibson leads the way from Holland and Cresswell, then Armstrong, Babs, Hull, Briggs, Max Edmondson and Josh Pillane. Machi Hamera, the 303 squadron car trying to come through. That's a lovely move into the first hairpin for Max Edmondson. And there's contact further back. 2 or 3 karts have come together. Now that looks to me like we've lost certainly the 33, I think that is. No, sorry, it's the 23, my apologies. That is Ben Hearsey. He has come out of the race, and it looks to me as though the other one in there is the Azerbaijani driver, Jamil Rogers, for Coles Racing. So those two have got going again. But unfortunately, now at the back of the field... No, it isn't Jamil Rogers. My apologies. That could well be the 59 of CJ Morgan. We'll double check. But across the line, and Harry Holland is immediately giving pressure and into the lead of the first corner. Nice move from Harry Holland as he dives on the inside of Harry Gibson and takes the position. The Welshman hits the front. The privateer going very well indeed as they go into the second hairpin. The left-hander connecting into the next right. And some great wheel-to-wheel dicing already in the repechage, as of course in these races only the first 6 drivers across the finish line will progress for the rest of the weekend. It was the 23 of Ben Hearsey, and I was right the first time. It is Jamil Rogers who was involved in that first incident with Ben Hearsey on the second lap. So the drivers continue on their way, and unfortunately it looks like those two are not going to be going any further forward. A real shame for the Azerbaijani. Jamil Rogers had a great weekend at Clay Pigeon last week apparently, so hopefully he's going to get back up to his strength again in the British Championships for the next weekend. But Harry Holland is in the lead, as we know, from Harry Gibson. Then it is Taylor Babs who has worked his way up to third position. So Taylor Babs is on the move. Gibson on the Luxor has a look to go on the inside of Harry Holland. The Aztec Motorsport driver trying to break his way back into the lead again. But on this particular occasion, he's having to place second best. Taylor Babs, he's right there in third position. Then it's Mackenzie Cresswell, Daniel Armstrong and Oscar Hull as they battle away for procedure. You hear in the background Hearsey and Rogers trying to get back up to speed at the tail end of the field. But the competitors are pushing on very hard indeed at the far side of the circuit. They're now into that long straight that brings you into the final chicane and onto the home straight once again. And is there going to be a run through this final chicane for Harry Gibson? He's getting very close. And now alongside, no, that's Taylor Babs in fact. And Babs is going for the lead on the inside line of the hairpin, and he gets there. So Taylor Babs, having moved up from third position, has now got through into the lead and now into third position. That is a lovely move from Mackenzie Cresswell as he makes the move but doesn't finish it, as on the exit that is well defended by Harry Gibson as he hangs on to third position. They go into the third hairpin and up towards the left-hander, very fast on the way out of that hairpin and back on the throttle, screaming through the far right and into the tight twisty section of the circuit, very narrow, plenty of speed through that fast sweeper on the left and then down into the braking zone for the right-hand hairpin that brings you onto that back straight. Once again, it's a short circuit here at the Mansell Raceway circuit compared to some of the others, but I tell you what, it has provided amazing racing and some fantastic overtakes. So Taylor Babs is your race leader at the moment from Harry Holland, then Harry Gibson and Mackenzie Cresswell, Dan Armstrong and Oscar Hull. Those are the 6 that are likely to progress if they stay where they are. But that's a move up the inside from the 91 of Jack Meakin. He makes the move on Machi Himera. The 303 Squadron Kart loses position. And there's some good battles in the middle of the field as well. That looks like a move there from Josh Powell on Reese Hurd. So he gets through another position in the midfield. And as the competitors continue to charge their way around this very tight and fast-flowing circuit, we're going to see some really exciting battles as the competitors continue to charge their way through. The wind picking up a little bit. Apologies if it's affecting your coverage. But the drivers are now getting themselves down the main straight once again. And it's Taylor Babs who holds the lead. Holland in second from Gibson, Cresswell, Armstrong, Hull. Edmondson is up to 7th. Josh Poulain is in 8th place. Jack Meakin has made the move on Machi Himera to get into 9th position. And now Machi Himera is going to try and make a big dive and up the inside and go straight onto the second hairpin. What a shame. Unfortunately, Machi Himera, the 303 Squadron, overshoots there as he tries to make the move on the inside of Daniel Briggs. And I'm afraid that went all pear-shaped for Machi Himera because Briggs didn't realise that he had a bandit on his 12 there, but it didn't work out. And unfortunately, Machi Himera, the 303 Squadron, has landed rather sharpishly at that second hairpin, unfortunately. So down the straight they come once again. And the 29, Taylor Babs, leads the way. The battle for second place could get interesting as Mackenzie Cresswell is now working with Harry Gibson to move further up the order. We are about halfway through this first of our 2 repechages before we get into the point-scoring finals. So things are going to get very interesting from here on in. But Mackenzie Cresswell trying to edge closer to Harry Gibson with Daniel Armstrong in 5th and Oscar Hull in 6th position. So the battle continues to rage as the competitors are still trying to make up the progress to get their way into that top 6. But this is a fantastic weekend for the drivers and they are battling away for procedure. And as they go down the max straight into the chicane, they will come at the end of this lap. And it's all sweet as a rose for Taylor Babs up front. He is stretching out a lead and he's actually opened up a gap of over a second now to Harry Holland. 1.3 seconds is now the gap. Slightly cooler conditions than yesterday. 16 degrees Celsius is the air temperature, but the sun is coming out and there is a mild breeze, so It's pretty much sunburn weather. Oh, and contact further back into the second chicane. That is a big problem, and there's 2 drivers off. One of them is stationary and unable to move. That's the 59 that was involved. That's CJ Morgan, and I wonder if it was Daniel Briggs that's gone with him. So Daniel Briggs, unfortunately, it looks to me as though has not gone any... No, it's Joshua Poulain, my apologies. Joshua Poulain for the Racing Perfection squad. He's out on the spot. That's a real shame for Josh Poulain. And I'm afraid it's now curtains for his weekend. So the battle will continue around the rest of the circuit, and the drivers will battle away. So they come through on the far side into the hairpin, and it's now Taylor Babs who leads the way in front of Harry Holland. Third position is Gibson from Armstrong, Cresswell, Oscar Hull, Jack Meakin and Max Edmondson. Then Ethan Leader. And then it is Daniel Briggs in front of CJ Morgan, Reese Hurd, Jordan Morris, Dylan West Jackson, Brandon Klein Nagelvort, Josh Powell and Machi Himera. With Powell out of the Poulain, Joshua Poulain now out of the race, and those 2 down at the back obviously trying to make progress. Now out of that long flowing hairpin and down the wrong straight into that final chicane. It is all going beautifully for Taylor Babs up front. He's really managed to extend this gap, and it looks as though the battle is now for second place. We're going to see a real challenge now from Harry Gibson as he runs there in third position, with Dan Armstrong in fourth position trying to make his own progress on the race. They battle away for position. There's going to be a big launch up the inside in the second hairpin. Oh, a neat opportunity for Jack Meakin. He's trying desperately to get into that 6th position spot. Now he's going to make another bid into the third hairpin on Cresswell. And he's there. Meakin has finally broken himself into the top 6. That's crucial. He needs to be in that top 6, as it's only the first 6 across the line in the repechage that will progress, and that unfortunately is game over for the 23 of Ben Hearsey. That is a shame. After his incident earlier on with Jamil Rogers, he can go no further. Across the line with 3 minutes and 18 on the clock. The 29, Taylor Babs, running smoothly out in front. Here comes Gibson. Has a look on the inside. Can't find the move on Harry Holland, but Gibson is really stepping up the attack. He's looked after the tyre as well, and now he's got a great opportunity in the braking zone. 2 wheels come up in the air as you tighten up into that hairpin. Oh, problem for 34. Disaster for Max Edmondson. Max Edmondson has slowed down to a crawl. That is a disaster for Edmondson. A great opportunity. Well, he started speeding up again, but something has gone terribly wrong there for Edmondson. Couldn't see what it was, but now he's got himself back up to speed, but that's cost him any chance of getting into that top 6. Devastating for Max Edmondson. But Taylor Babs comes across the line with just under 3 minutes on the clock. All going well for him. 71 running well. Harry Holland still trying to hang on in front of Gibson. And in fourth position, it is Daniel Armstrong from Oscar Hull and Jack Meakin. They come into the braking zone for the hairpin. And all still going well. But Gibson's really fired up here behind the 71 of Harry Holland. They come out of the second hairpin at the end of the first sector, up to the inside of the right-hander. Very late lunge, and he's there. Lovely move from Harry Gibson into P2 now. And that's a move into fifth position as well. That is Jack Meakin. He now gets the move on Oscar Hull. So a lovely bit of driving from Meakin up into fifth position. So Taylor Babs has well and truly saved his bacon by taking the lead and running away up front in the repechage. But Gibson has done the hard work to get onto the back of Holland. Now it looks like Holland's actually going to have some problems from Daniel Armstrong. Armstrong goes for the inside line and makes the move to the hairpin, but Holland resists him. Holland is not going to let him go through. Armstrong manages to try again, now into the second hairpin. Goodness me. Massive lock-up into that second hairpin. Three wheels on the deck and the rear left in the air, and there's a yellow flag up at the top hairpin. Yellow flag at the top hairpin. Can't see who that was, but we seem to have somebody missing from the fray down the order. Jamil Rogers has come through, and we've got a driver running away from the scene. I think that is going to be, well, we've lost Poulain, we've lost Hearsay, and we've lost Edmondson now. So I think it is Max Edmondson who has had to run away from the car, broken down at the hairpin. What a shame. Across the line, Taylor Babs has less than a minute to go. And it's all going well for Jack Meakin as he now closes up on the fourth place man, Dan Armstrong. Armstrong is still trying to hang on to fourth position, but it's very, very tight as he holds the inside line. Fifth position, still going well for the 91 of Jack Meakin. He's really storming through the field. The Vision Motorsport driver making some good headway. Armstrong moves to the inside line at the right-hander on the second sector to try and cover off the line. And as they come into that fast-flowing sweeper section of the course now, through the flat-out left-hander, brake, turn in for the right-hand hairpin, keep it nice and tidy on the exit, builds up a lovely run down the back straight, and into that final chicane. You get the exit right here, you're guaranteed to go for a move for the first corner. Gibson in second place behind Taylor Babs. Here comes the squabble. And a massive defensive line from Holland as he hangs on from Armstrong because he knows that he's running short on time. The time has ticked down to 0. So Holland is desperately trying to hang on to third position. I love the way that the karts, they slam on the brakes into that second hairpin, the left-hander, and 3 wheels remain on the deck, but one, the left rear, tends to go up in the air under the acceleration and deceleration, then coming back onto the power. Lovely to see the absolute aggression from these karts in the braking zones. They fly through the flat-out left-hander up towards the final hairpin, and then onto that back straight once again. Taylor Babs has signed, sealed and delivered this one already. Difficult day yesterday, but he's bounced back in style as he goes into the last lap. Second place, though, is anybody's guess. Gibson, Holland, Armstrong, Meakin, Hull. And as they go through the hairpin, this is a great chance for Holland to get back into the game. He's going to make the lunge for second position. He dives in the hairpin. Lovely move. That was beautifully done. Up into second position then for Holland. So he gets the move there on Harry Gibson. And a massive lunge from Armstrong. Is he going to get through? Not quite. He had to bail out of that move in the right hairpin. But this is absolute barnstorming stuff as Cresswell tries to get past Hoole on the inside into 5th position. The 5 of them are going to be in a drag race down the back straight. Is there going to be a lunge from Armstrong? No, he can't quite get close enough to the back of Gibson. But Taylor Babs comes into the final chicane, powers down the straight. Taylor Babs wins the repechage. He's in the final for Junior Rotax. And in second, it is going to be Holland. Holland gets there in front of Gibson, Armstrong, Meakin and Oscar Hull. So those are the 6 that are going to go through. Devastating for Mackenzie Cresswell. He came so close in 7th position, but not enough to get his way further forward. Ethan Leader in 8th place from Daniel Briggs and CJ Morgan, Reese Hurd and Jordan Morris, then Dylan Wash-Jackson and Brandon Klein-Nagelvort from Josh Powell and Machi Himera, with Jamil Rogers, the last man in 17th. Here he comes, a big disappointment for the Azerbaijani. Could have been a much better race for him. And then it is Max Edmondson, Ben Hearsey and Josh Poulain who sadly retire from the race. But the top 6 in the repechages, as we know, go through to the finals. And what a great job it was from Taylor Babs, who takes the lead and runs away with it out front. And he will be absolutely relieved. Very, very relieved indeed to hang on to his position in the finals. A good run in the battle for second place as well. And all 5 who are in the mix should be able to maintain their positions, barring any front-fairing penalties. All the top 6 will remain in the weekend. Sadly for the others, it was not to be, but a very exciting battle. And there I can see the mechanics there racing down to the bottom end of the circuit, the furthest point on the race circuit. And unfortunately, it is game over for Max Edmondson in what has been a very bitter weekend from his point of view. He's never really had the luck over the course of the weekend. Right from qualifying, things never really went Max Edmondson's way, and it's just ended up being a catalogue of errors, unfortunately, since that point. So big problems, I'm afraid, to report for Max Edmondson, and likewise as well for Jamil Rogers, who got into that tangle earlier on with Hearsay, unfortunately, having to pull in to retire with damage to the kart, and Jamil Rogers bringing it home but not in the position he wanted to be in, and problems of course in that race for Max Edmondson. Big difficulties for several drivers in the field as we saw, but for the top 6 it looks as though they're going to go through to the Junior Rotax final. Taylor Babs, Harry Holland, Harry Gibson, Daniel Armstrong, Jack Meakin and Oscar Hull. Barring any front-fairing penalties, those will be the 6 that go through. So, gorgeous weather conditions after a bit of a cool and slightly damp start, actually, this morning in the warm-up session. But fortunately, thanks to the break we had for church bells, the sunshine has been able to come out and it's baking the circuit once again. So, Mansell Raceway for the first time here for the British Championships. And I'm delighted to be joined next to me by Leo Mansell, who is here watching all of the action. Leo, you've been absolutely spellbound, I'm so sure we all have, at how great the racing has been this weekend. It must be a pretty special sight to see the British Championships here on your back garden.
Yeah, it's amazing to finally have it all together, and we've been trying to do this for, I think, 12 years now to get planning permission to be able to have the clubhouse and the pit complex, and to have it all come to fruition now and see the championship here is amazing.
It's very important, I think, for new tracks like this one to come in at British Championship level. When you read in the press and so many circuits are in danger of disappearing, in danger of, succumbing to planning permission for other projects, to have a new British Karting Championship event, that must be a really satisfying feeling.
Yeah, it's great for the area. I think it's good for the drivers and mechanics to have a new challenge as well. It's new to the schedule, so I think it gets that extra bit of interest, and obviously we've been very proud to host it, so it's great to showcase what we do have here. We've had a special place here for a long time. We've just never been able to have the facilities to attract people, and now we do. We're very excited about the future.
And the drivers' first impressions on running the circuit, they love the technical challenge of the first sector, the third sector that feels very much like Monaco once you get into that flat-out left-hander with no runoff either side. This is a real technical challenge for a driver and a brilliant place to come racing.
Yeah, the most pleasing thing for me standing here watching is that there's good overtaking opportunities, and even with the new tyres this year and things, seeing a couple of new overtakes around here which we weren't able to do in years past, so it's really exciting to see, and I'm glad that they're able to mix it up and really try their skills against each other.
That's great. I'll let you carry on watching, Leo. Thank you very much for talking to us.
No, thank you.
So brilliant racing, and we're going to see some more obviously from the next heat, which is going to be the senior Rotax repechage, and that will be the last race on the bill before we get to the championship point scoring races. And this obviously being the third weekend of the championships for Rotax classes, it's getting feisty and competitive at this stage. We thought it was going to be one-way traffic for junior Rotax championship leader Kai Hunter this weekend, but he's actually found through the heats he's got a real contender for his crown in a couple of other drivers trying to snatch the victories away from him. Will Ellswood took 2 of the heats yesterday. His local knowledge of this circuit obviously coming very much in handy. But it's been really great to see a new venue for the British Championships. We've obviously talked about the prolific race circuits up and down the length and breadth of Great Britain, and everybody in British karting will know of those great circuits that have come to the fore. But this is the first time that Mansell Raceway can now be added to that catalogue of great circuits. And for those who are listening along who've never been to this circuit before, it is a genuinely fantastic spectacle. It is basically a cross between Kristianstad in Sweden and the street circuits of karting that you get in Macau and in Monte Carlo in Europe. It is an absolutely fantastic battle for racing drivers, a real technical challenge in the first sector, an incredible daredevil push on the throttle in the second sector. So it's a real technical mixture. Now the repechage begins for senior Rotax, and just the 8 of them in a difficult field of drivers, and it just means, unfortunately, with 8 of them in the field, that 2 of them are going to have to go away empty-handed from the weekend. The other 6 will progress through, but with a field of 8 very competitive senior Rotax drivers, there could be thrills and spills in the first corner, and just finishing the race could well get you into the final. It's Thomas Storer on pole position from Jaden Walker, Harry Canham and George Holbrook, then Dan Jones, Harvey Edmondson, Sam Sanders and Anchi Stenning. So the drivers are going to be into position. They're obviously getting very, very held up there on the back straight from the front row men, Storer and Walker. And I thought for a moment there that Anchi Stenning might have clattered into the back of Harvey Edmondson. That could have been absolutely disastrous before the race even begins, picking up a front fairing penalty. It's not the first time it would have happened. They come out of the final turn, along the main straight, in the tram lines. That looks like a textbook start, and away they go. Thomas Storer holds the inside line nicely. He's already getting a bit of a challenge from Jaden Walker, who tries to dive up the inside. A great squabble as they go 3 wide for 5th. That's Jones, Edmondson and Sanders. Anchi Stenning trying to come through and up the inside. That's a big late lunge from Sanders as he tries to get through on the inside of Edmondson, who manages to shut the door, but not before Sanders comes through. He manages to hang on in front of Anchi Stenning into the hairpin for the first time in the second sector, and then through the long flowing left to take you through to the flat out right kink, in through the left that gets you very close to the wall, and then into the braking zone for the tight hairpin at the bottom end of the circuit. Now you're back on the power, up through the throttle, along that back straight, canter into the first apex of the chicane, blip the brake, turn back in on the power, and then get onto the main straight once again. This is a great challenge for second, as up the inside, here comes George Holbrook, makes the move, and he's going to bang wheels. Is he with Walker? No, that was a clean move from Holbrook. Lovely job there in his second place. And now it looks like he's going to lose third position now. Walker to Anchi Stenning. Stenning dives up the inside. Lovely bit of driving from Stenning, but that's opened the floodgates. Now they're squabbling away for 4th and 5th position as Canham, I think, has to lose ground there to Sam Sanders, and a big lunge up the inside from Dan Jones as he takes on Harvey Edmondson. There's only 8 of them in the race, but I tell you what, we've had more overtakes in these first 2 laps than you'll see in a common Grand Prix. Amazing. Great racing up to the hairpin bend on the far side of the circuit, and then back on the power. No problem at all for our leader, Storer, although he's going to get some pressure from George Holbrook. That's a lovely move for 4th position into the braking zone for the chicane. I tell you what, that is a daring move from Harvey Edmondson. They do say that they make these kart races pretty nervy in the north, and I tell you what, Harvey Edmondson has pulled off an absolute cracker of an overtake into the final chicane. I'm not sure many drivers knew there was an overtake into that final chicane, but he's pulled it off nicely and got the job done. But now George Holbrook has caught right up to the back of the independent Thomas Storer, and the Dan Holland Racing man is obviously going to have a great opportunity to take onto the back of Storer. Flat out through the left. He's not going to make the move on the inside of the hairpin, is he? No, he thinks better of it. Back on the power. And George Holbrook will be looking to set up a move into turn 1 here. Storer is hanging on to it, but the pressure is cracking him a little bit. Holbrook's got a lovely run down the main straight and into the first corner. George Holbrook takes the initiative and takes the lead. Lovely job on the inside line. Textbook overtaking move from the Dan Holland Racing driver, and he gets himself into the lead. Now, the next in line is Anchi Stenning. Now, Anchi Stenning is going to try and get his way into second position as well. But Anchi Stenning has had a very tricky weekend at the office, but these repêchages are very important for a young driver's development, of course, because even if things have gone a little bit awry over the course of a weekend, you still need to redeem yourself, and you get an opportunity to battle for a race victory in the repêchage in the lower end of the field. That could be invaluable for when you get to the front end of the field, because those skills unlocked could be the difference between you standing on the podium and finishing in 4th or 5th. Across the line, and Anchi Stenning's leading up a good run to Storer. He doesn't go for it in the first corner. Meanwhile, further back, that's a lovely lunge from Canham. Canham tries to get past Walker, but bails out as Stenning makes the move in the first left-hand hairpin and gets the move into second place. Lovely job from Anchi Stenning. So down the straight alongside the airfield and into the hairpin, the right-hander into the second sector, and Anchi Stenning has consolidated second place. Now it's up to Thomas Storer to hang on from Harvey Edmondson, who is having a really good run. And Harvey Edmondson, one of the top privateers in senior Rotax, he's had a miserable weekend so far, but now he's got a chance to get himself back up into the top 3 of the repêchage, and that will boost his starting position for the final. But Edmondson is going to have a bit of a job to get into third place. Now he's going to make the move into the first corner. Back end steps out. Oh, lovely from Edmondson. He completely outfoxes Thomas Storer, and Storer had to slam on the brakes to avoid Edmondson sweeping into the side pod. Brilliant bit of driving from Harvey Edmondson, but that was four-wheel drift. That was more Sterling Moss than Mike Wilson. Goodness me. Brilliant work from Edmondson to get the kart stopped, having chucked it up the inside. So now it is Holbrook from Stenning, Edmondson and Tom Storer. Jaden Walker still hanging on to 5th. And the last man in at the moment is Harry Canham. So Dan Jones and Sam Sanders have got to try and find something special to get those 2 places back in 7th and 8th. They need to get into the top 6 in order to progress through to the finals. Out of the final turn, Anchi Stenning looks quite threatening actually on the back of George Holbrook. So they come into the first corner. And George Holbrook is having to hang on very carefully from Anchi Stenning. Stenning is going hell for leather. He's decided, you know what? If this is the only race I'm going to win all weekend, I'm going to make sure I win it. Oh, and a big battle as Canham gets on the inside of Walker. Walker's got to stay very hungry to keep on the inside of Dan Jones. Jones has now got Sanders to the inside of him. Sanders makes the lunge and gets into 7th place. Those last 2 positions in the final are very much for Dan Jones. Chucks it up the inside in the left hairpin and gets the place back from Sam Sanders. I don't think Sanders was prepared for that one. He got very wide trying to recover. And Dan Jones makes sure that he's in the hunt for the top 6. Look at the top 3 as they come down the main straight. We've got Holbrook, Stenning and Edmondson very close together. As Anchi Stenning is going to try for the lead again on George Holbrook. Into that second hairpin, into the left-hander. Thinks better of it, but Holbrook, Stenning and Edmondson are now very close. Storer is alone in 4th position. He's in no man's land. And then in 15, it is Harry Canham in front of Jaden Walker, Dan Jones and Sam Sanders. So they come through the hairpin, into the left, and then back on the power. You go through the right-hander, very close to the curb. Back on the power again, still flat through the next 2 left apexes. Then it's hard braking into the hairpin. But Anchi Stenning is going to get back on the power down the long straight up towards the final chicane. And Stenning is going to have a lovely run on George Holbrook here. Holbrook slides a little bit wide in the second apex. Now Stenning's going to have his run. Dives on the inside line. Takes the place. And the door's left open. Contact! Contact between Holbrook and Edmondson. Through to second goes Storer. And Holbrook is out of it. Holbrook is down to 7th and Edmondson is out. Devastating. Holbrook and Edmondson have taken each other out of the final of the senior Rotax races, out of contention. They clash in the repechage. Edmondson is out on the spot. Holbrook has kept going, but he's got a good 6 seconds or so to make up before he can catch the back of Sam Sanders. That's why it's worth pushing to the death. You never know what's going to happen next. And Holbrook and Edmondson, battling for the victory with Angie Stenning, have collided. And now they are both facing elimination. Edmondson's is guaranteed. Holbrook has got to try and make up some time to get back into the top 6. So Angie Stenning now has the lead, and it's a dominant one in front of Thomas Storer. Harry Canham's in 3rd. Jaden Walker 4th from Dan Jones and Sam Sanders. Now, these three who are battling for what is now 4th position, they don't need to battle each other. They can stay in position, and all three of them are going to make it through to the final. For the man behind them, George Holbrook, the pressure's on him. But if these guys up front start battling, Holbrook can make up the deadlock and start catching, and there's a chance to come through. So this is a big problem for George Holbrook as he desperately tries to get himself back into the top 6, and he's trying to charge after the battle for 3rd position. Meanwhile, Canham is being caught by Walker, Jones and Sanders. So the 3rd place battle is going to be an epic squabble. Now, side by side, Dan Jones gets the run on Walker, and he's through into 4th position. But on the exit, Jaden Walker's trying to come back at Dan Jones. But Jones hangs on to it nicely. Sanders is now right in the back of Jaden Walker as he tries to come through, and they're rapidly being caught by George Holbrook. So Holbrook is now a good 3 seconds back from Sam Sanders, but he has got time to get this done. 3 minutes and 40 on the clock. If these guys keep battling for 4th position, Holbrook is definitely going to catch them. So Angie Stenning comes into the final chicane to go into what is going to be lap number 12. So Angie Stenning is on his 12th lap in the repechage in front of Thomas Storer. Then it's the 4-way fight for 3rd position. Canham, Jones, Walker and Sanders, and George Holbrook has got the gap down to 2.1. Goodness me, George Holbrook is absolutely rapid at the moment. The guys in front of them are in the 47s. He's just doing a 46.4. He's desperate to catch them. George Holbrook is absolutely romping around this racetrack, trying to make up the time to get onto the back of Sam Sanders. All he has to do is pass one of them, and he's in the final. But 7th position, where he is at the moment, is not going to be good enough. So he is genuinely hanging on to his chances of getting into the final. A rare mistake from Angie Stenning in the lead of the race there, into the chicane. And a much cleaner line from Tom Storer. Jaden Walker has to cut across the nose of Sam Sanders to hang on to 5th position. But George Holbrook comes across the line, and the gap is down again. He's done a 46.2 compared to the others in front doing 47.1s. Holbrook is absolutely rapid. As up the inside for 3rd goes Dan Jones. Jones gets Canham, and that puts him into 3rd position. That's going to hold them up even more. As now for 5th position, we've got Jaden Walker and Sam Sanders scrapping away. But George Holbrook is desperately trying to catch them, and he's only got 1 place to make up to get into the final. So he will never have been more determined to pass anybody anywhere. Angie Stenning comes out of the final chicane to cross the line to begin lap 14 in this repechage. And the 3rd place battle continues on, and it's going to be a tough one for Dan Jones. Harry Canham is 4th. 5th, here's the battle as Sanders makes the move on the inside of Jaden Walker, and he bails out of it. Now that's crucial, because they're going to lose time. George Holbrook will close in again, and he's done a 46.4 compared to those in front on 46.9s. He gains another half second. A minute and a half to go, and Holbrook is going to be with them on the last lap as Sanders makes the bid to get up the inside of Jaden Walker, but he keeps bailing out at the last minute. Now he's going to have George Holbrook all over the back of him. He leaves the door open. Holbrook is through. Holbrook in a 6th position. Wow, that battle between Walker and Sanders has definitely given Holbrook a get-out-of-jail-free card. Stenning leads the race into the first corner. Storer in 2nd, but Holbrook is now up to 6th, and that's enough to put him in the final. Now, I don't think he's going to be done yet. He's going to go for Jaden Walker. So Holbrook will close up on the back of Jaden Walker, having made the ground up in a 6th position. Now he's got to take at least one more car to really consolidate his position. Up the inside of Jaden Walker, lovely move That is such a hard overtake to pull off. And the door's left open by Walker, so Sanders will get his move on the inside line into the next right-hand hairpin. But he runs wide on the exit, manages to shut the door down on the next left. So Sanders is into the position. That's crucial because that now puts him in 6th place. And it would see Jaden Walker eliminated. So Angie Stenning is leading the race still. Storer in 2nd place. They are going on to the penultimate lap now. Storer is in 2nd place. 3rd position, Dan Jones, Canham, then Holbrook, Sanders and Jaden Walker desperately trying to catch back up to Sam Sanders, with George Holbrook safe for the moment in 5th position. But that collision with Harvey Edmondson has definitely put him on the back foot. So now the drivers are continuing down the back straight along the airfield section of the circuit and then into the right hairpin. So no problem at all for the battle for victory. Angie Stenning has cleared out and checked out to another postcode. 2nd place for Tom Storer. 3rd place isn't done yet though, because Dan Jones has still got Harry Canham all over the back of him. And George Holbrook's lap times in the sectors, he's still faster than both the men in front. So Holbrook could still bag 4th, maybe even 3rd from this race as we go into the last lap. So Dan Jones holds 3rd. Canham is 4th. Holbrook still charging rapidly in 5th position. And that's where we might see the next overtake, as Dan Jones hangs on to 3rd. It's taken him a long time to get up to that 3rd position spot, but he's made good use of it. And now Canham in 4th position in front of George Holbrook. 6th place is Sam Sanders in front of Jaden Walker. But there is your race leader, Angie Stenning, coming out of the hairpin. He's absolutely romped away to this repechage, and that will give him a massive bag of confidence to carry with him into the senior Rotax final. The checkered flag flies. Angie Stenning gets it done. Lovely job in the repechage. 2nd place for Storer. Is there going to be one final lunge for 4th position on Canham over the line? I don't think so. Storer's going to be 2nd. 3rd place goes the way of Jones. Canham is 4th. Holbrook fights back to 5th. Sanders is 6th. And sadly, Jaden Walker is the one who will go no further. What a sensational battle in the senior Rotax repechage. A race that went all the way to the death. But commiserations to Harvey Edmondson in that clash with Holbrook. That has put him out of the race and unfortunately too out of the weekend. And that is devastatingly unfortunate for Harvey Edmondson. But there you go. The repechage, if it stays the way it is, the top 6 going through are Angie Stenning, Thomas Storer, Dan Jones, Harry Canham, George Holbrook and Sam Sanders. Those are the 6 who are set to progress through to the next encounter. And they will do so providing that everything is above board in the scrutineering bay. But Angie Stenning really does pull away beautifully there. And a fantastic performance and a really good job from everybody. And Nigel Mansell has actually gone down to the pit lane entry to give a round of applause to the drivers coming in, particularly to George Holbrook, actually. He was very impressed. George Holbrook shrugs his shoulders, what could I do? But Nigel Mansell gives a bit of an applause to George Holbrook. He rated his performance in that comeback drive very highly. And it's really great to see just how much appreciation there is for the driving talents of the competitors here as they put on such a fantastic effort. So that is the last repechage race then as we progress forward to the finals. And the first final of the day is going to be Rotax 177, and that's going to be really exciting stuff. Just want to grab a quick word actually with Nigel. You were watching George Holbrook make his fight back out there. Difficult situation with him tagging with Harvey Edmondson, but what a fight back. He came from about 6 seconds back to get 5th.
No, it was great, and to see such heart when you've been, unfortunately knocked off, but it was a racing incident, to fight back and then get back and get as high as he did, it was wonderful to see, and a huge effort, and all credit to him.
Great to see how good the circuit is for overtaking. It's one of those places that has hidden overtaking spots that you really have to be creative to go and find.
Well, it's very rewarding, and I think the thing is he was chasing back. If you didn't drive the bumper in front of you but drove the track, he actually demonstrated how he could catch the leaders. So I mean, there was many laps out there. It was quicker than the leader himself.
Well, I know you're looking very much forward to watching the finals, so we'll let you crack on with it. Thanks for talking to us. So it's going to be a really interesting battle now for the finals, and these are the races, obviously, where the drivers will score championship points. In Rotax 177, the season has been a very exciting one in the first 2 weekends, and it is a bit of a rivalry at the top end of the championship. And it's Cheek versus Beecroft, having had a very exciting start to the season. Those two drivers are obviously wanting to put in a very strong effort here in Rotax 177, and considering how close it has been in the first part of the year, it's obviously going to be an interesting one for Michael Cheek, the young man from Yateley for Dan Holland Racing. He is the championship leader, but not far behind him at all is the 72, the privateer from China, and that is James Beecroft. We're going to see a really interesting battle between these two, but so far the two men who have hit the sweet spot in the heats has been Chris Thomas for the GMS karting squad. Great to see him up at the sharp end again. Chris Thomas putting on a fantastic performance, the racer from Tunbridge Wells. And then the other man who took victory yesterday, of course, was Alexander Luck, the privateer, who was absolutely raving about how brilliant this circuit is. He really hit the sweet spot yesterday, a second in the first heat, a victory in the second, and he was telling us yesterday on social media just how much he adores the challenge of this race circuit. The Rotax 177s are obviously finding it a bit difficult considering the length of the circuit. It's a shorter circuit, but the Rotax 177s are only just able really to build up to their ambient speed when they hit the first corner. But Rotax 177 are set to have a truly sensational battle when the finals begin, and it is going to be a really exciting run for all of the competitors as they get ready for the action and the drama here at Mansell Raceway for the first time in the British Championships.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
It's time for race action to get underway here at Mansell Raceway in the finals. Rotax 177 is on track. Chris Thomas and Alexander Luck lining up on the front row of the grid from Nathan Schaefer and Michael Cheek. Jamie Desire and Chris Wright from James Beecroft and the reigning champion Louis Large. Then Cole Edwards and Colin Davis from Matteo Zanetti and Charlie Whaley. Ian Branfield and Aaron Yao from James Moorcroft and Luke Oliver. Joe Pfiffner and Carl Churchill. Adam Sadler and Taylor Adams from Dan Milner, Tim Darlow and Sam Winter. Now, the battle this weekend in Rotax 177 has been about two drivers, Chris Thomas and Alex Luck. They had a win apiece yesterday and a second apiece as well. So these two are definitely the drivers to battle for supremacy in 177 this weekend. Both drivers have complimented the circuit. They love driving it. It's a brand new challenge for both of them. But now the real fight begins. And what of the drivers battling for the championship? Michael Cheek starts in 4th in this first final. James Beecroft only 7th. So it's going to be a really exciting run as they come along the tram lines. Is it going to be a clean start? Yes, it is, and away we go. Cracking start from Luck, but not good enough to hold off the attentions of the man charged in the second. That's Nathan Schaefer. Schaefer comes through to second. It's the lead, and Luck is down to 4th. Luck is down to 4th behind the 27, Jamie Desire. Jamie Desire breaks his way through. Louis Large is in the battle in the mid-pack as he tries to get up the inside of James Beecroft. Can't get through, and they sweep down the airfield straight up into the hairpin. And a lovely start from Chris Thomas. A terrible one for Alex Luck, though. He's fallen in down to 4th position behind Nathan Schaefer and the fast-starting Jamie Desire. So Jamie Desira now in third position, chasing after Chafer. But Chafer has one thing on his mind, and that's the lead of the race, Chris Thomas, who is out in front. They come into the final chicane. Very quick lap here at Mansell Raceway, of course. And they come onto the main straight once again. Thomas has already got a challenge from Chafer. And Thomas going defensive as Luck goes up the inside and takes the place from Desira. But Desira is going to get him back on the undercut. They bang wheels as they come off the turn. Luck keeps it to the inside, still side by side, and Luck hangs on to third place. What an amazing battle that went from the entirety of the braking zone for the first corner all the way through the second hairpin. They were side by side the whole way, and Alex Luck just hangs on in front of Jamie Desira, who has now lost the position to Chris Wright. To think that no, that's Michael Cheek. Michael Cheek has got himself back into fourth position. Great bit of driving from Cheek, and now Jamie Desira sadly is down to fifth position. But Nathan Chafer is all over the back of Chris Thomas as they come off the final corner and down the main straight. A really good battle into the first corner. Thomas is your leader, Chafer in second, Luck up to third from Michael Cheek and Jamie Desira. Then it is Beecroft, Wright, Edwards, Zanetti, Large, Davis, Whaley and Branfield. Great racing, and that's a lovely move up the inside from Cole Edwards. He gets Chris Wright and up into position as a little puff of grass on the exit from the top six. I think that was the man in P6, James Beecroft, just flicking up the blades of grass on the exit of the third hairpin and gets back on the power. They're into the third sector now, close to the wall, rapid on the throttle, blending the power into the braking zone, and there's an off. There's an off by the look of it up at the third hairpin. Two of them have come together. Now, I'm not sure who that is, but that's definitely two of them in the midfield. It's Yao and Winter, the teammates at Howarth Racing. That is a disaster for the Howarth Racing squad. The pair of them have come together as Chris Wright makes his move on the inside of Beecroft and gets through. So, a lovely bit of driving from Chris Wright to overtake Beecroft and get into seventh position. But it's an absolute agony for the Howarth Racing teammates as Aaron Yao and Sam Winter come together at the third hairpin. What's the first rule of motor racing? You can race clean and fair, but don't take your teammate out. Well, I wouldn't want to be in the Howarth Racing awning later because Yao and Winter have got some explaining to do. But now up at the front end of the field, it is Thomas who has the advantage over Nathan Chafer. And then Luck and Cheek are tightening up as well. So this is going to be a four-way fight for the victory. 5 if Jamie Desira keeps up with them. They go onto the straight and into lap number 5. Up the inside goes Cheek. Cheek's going to get Luck. Yes, he gets there through the first hairpin. Lovely bit of driving from Michael Cheek. So he gets through once again on Alex Luck, and that puts him into third position now. Michael Cheek has struggled all weekend to make an impression. Now in the finals, he has genuinely got a chance here. Now, what this means, of course, now is that getting into third position will put him on 308 points for the championship, with Beecroft still second. But now Nathan Chafer is making progress to move up into third in the driver's standings with second place, as Chris Thomas has got a real mission on his hands to hold him out. Look, Thomas is going defensive in this early stage of the race. We're only 4 minutes in, and Thomas is actually defending on the way down the main straight. That is so bizarre. And now Chafer's going to have Cheek to the inside. Chafer turns across, and Cheek gets him. They both drift wide. Luck, Desira, and the 11 have gone through. Cole Edwards. And now Chafer and Cheek are having a wrestling match for 5th position. They're absolutely banging wheels. They're now fighting for position. Cheek is not happy with Chafer. As far as Cheek is concerned, Chafer has chopped across him on the brakings over the first corner. Chafer spans sideways across the grass and hopped over the curb on the inside line. You can see the tyre marks where he's gone over the curbs. A very dramatic form for Chafer there as he collides with Michael Cheek, and that is the first and third place drivers in the championship who have tagged together. This is big drama at Mansell Raceway. Exactly what we came to see. Thomas is your leader. Desira now second in front of Alex Luck. Fourth position is Cole Edwards. And then it is Nathan Chafer in front of Michael Cheek. They've got together, but that incident is almost certainly being discussed by the race officials. Clerk of the course, Nigel Edwards, is already assessing the situation. But a really interesting battle at the front end of the field, as Thomas, having to play defensive initially, now has a bit of a breathing space thanks to that incident between Schaefer and Cheek. But I've got to say, that was amazing reflexes from Jamie Desira and from Alex Luck. How did they miss them as they canted into the first corner, charging through? Schaefer was sideways, full lock in the first corner. You can still see the tyre marks up the way through the first corner. That is absolutely incredible how they held it together. And Schaefer is still in 5th position, ironically enough, in front of Michael Cheek. And that's a lovely move further back. Now that is, I think, Ian Branfield making the move on Charlie Whaley, as Cole Edwards is stepping up the attack on 3rd place man Alex Luck. So Chris Thomas holds the lead and has done so all the way through. What a lovely pass in the midfield. That was Taylor Adams on Joe Piffner. So Taylor Adams gets the move. And after a miserable day at the office yesterday, he finally looks as though in the final he's got a good setup and he's starting to make the progress through. So good work from Adams. Now out of the hairpin, back up the long straight into the final chicane. Thomas holds the lead. Desira is getting closer though, as Alex Luck has got Edwards and Schaefer riding with him. And Michael Cheek is trying to get himself back up to speed again with Chris Wright for company. Rotax 177 has definitely kick-started with a bang. And in through the first couple of corners, in through the left hairpin, into the right. Thomas still holds the advantage from Desira. The wind picks up again. Alex Luck, Cole Edwards, Schaefer, Cheek and Wright, and then James Beecroft, who's having a real problem here in 8th position. He just doesn't seem to have raw pace at this point in proceedings to be able to close up on the leading 7, and that's a big problem for Beecroft. He's going to lose points here, and that's going to give Michael Cheek a little bit of breathing space. Mind you, Cheek, having that incident with Schaefer, has actually dropped the gap down to 6 points in the championship fight. So across the line, Thomas is in front of Desira and Alex Luck. Then the 11 of Cole Edwards from Schaefer and Cheek. Cheek is hanging on from Chris Wright. In 8th position, it is James Beecroft in front of the reigning champion, Louis Large, in 9th place. And in 10th position, it is Colin Davis from Zanetti, Moorcroft, Branfield, Whaley, Luke Oliver and Carl Churchill. And that's a move in the midfield, or a couple of moves in the midfield, as they dice away. That's in for 10th position. That is a lovely move from Matteo Zanetti, the Italian, former vice champion in the Junior Saloon Car Series, and has made his way back to karting. Last week at Fullbeck, he was actually in the KZ2 gearbox. Now he's here in Rotax 177. He's got the bounce back for karting, it seems. Absolutely loves it. So across the line comes Chris Wright, in behind Michael Cheek, as they battle over 6th position. But still no change at the top 4. I spoke too soon. Edwards is going for it on the inside of Alex Luck. That's the smallest gap in history, and he made it work. Brilliant bit of driving from Cole Edwards. That is threading the eye of the needle on the brakes, and now Luck is going to lose again, this time out to Nathan Schaefer. Alexander Luck definitely not living up to his name as he falls from 3rd to 5th, and now he's got pressure from Michael Cheek, and in behind them is Chris Wright. James Beecroft still hasn't quite got the pace to be able to get up to that point. So a big problem in the early stages. But Chris Thomas out in front has got an even bigger worry. Jamie Desira is right in behind him now. So Jamie Desira looks like he could go for the victory here. Now through the first hairpin. And they are now going to make their way down to the first left-hand hairpin. I love watching these karts on the power. Oh, and into the pits to retire. That's one of the Paralins. That is Joe Piffner. Wow, it's not been a great year for Joe Piffner so far, and it looks as though a mechanical problem has put him out of the action. A big disappointment. Last year he had some real flashes of brilliance, Joe Piffner, but this year so far it's been a bit of a nightmare with bad luck written through it like Blackpool Rock. Out of the hairpin, and Jamie Desira is really stepping up the attack as he pushes his way onto the back of Chris Thomas, in through the chicane, right, left, right, and now onto the main straight once again. But this is going full guns blazing. Chris Thomas leading the race, but Jamie Desira has now got Cole Edwards pushing hard. Nathan Schaefer up to 4th position. I'm amazed that Nathan Schaefer still has the pace to run at the front after that spin into the first corner with the man he went with, Michael Cheek. But incredibly, the battle is still raging between the two of them. I'm frustrated actually now because it's the second final that gets filmed for the Facebook and YouTube channels, and we missed that amazing incident in the first corner between the two of them, because that would have been absolutely spellbinding to watch back. But down the main straight up towards the chicane that breaks up the flow. Now, so Jamie Desira is there in second position. And in fourth place, that is Nathan Schaefer from Luck, Cheek and Chris Wright. The battle for eighth is really stepping up as Beecroft has got a massive hurry up from Louis Large. And then that's the O-plate in there. That is James Moorcroft. So the O-plate trying to get through into 10th position. A great tussle as they run through. But the 8th place battle is getting... Louis Large is going to make a late lunge on Beecroft. They're going to go side by side. No, Beecroft's going to shut him down. So the reigning champion Louis Large can't make an impression. Last year, as a rookie, he stormed to the title. This year, he's had all sorts of problems. And he's there in 9th place now, spitting out the exhaust fumes of James Beecroft. Down the main straight again. And still Chris Thomas out in front of Desira. Cole Edwards in third as they go through the first hairpin. Edwards has got a good run off the first hairpin. Is he going to make the lunge on the inside of Desira? Yes, he does, and he's done it again. Lovely job from Cole Edwards. Every single time he gets a whiff of a gap on the inside of the second hairpin and he makes it stick. Lovely job from Cole Edwards. So that puts the Howarth Racing driver now in his second place with only one man standing between him and pole position for the second final, and that is Chris Thomas. But more importantly, he's not far away from a massive 62 points that's going to put him right up the table. And to be fair, this is a good opportunity for Jamie Desira. For Cole Edwards, sorry. Edwards needs to break into that top 10, having had a terrible start to the year. But now he's really up in the sharp end. So, the number 2, Chris Thomas, out in front. Edwards is second, Desira's third. Here comes Nathan Schaefer, trying to get up the inside of the Dan Holland Racing man. Oh, a bit of a mistake on the exit for Desira. And now Nathan Schaefer's going to try and get the switch back down the airfield straight. Desira running him out of road, but he's not going to concede. Through he goes, into third place. Bit of great racing from Nathan Schaefer there to get into the top 3. And Jamie Desira has to surrender the place. Now Alex Luck is on the tail. And we're running short on laps now, 2.5 minutes to go. But Chris Thomas is out in front. Up to the chicane. Right, left, right. Back on the power. And Chris Thomas goes into lap number 14 with Cole Edwards desperately trying to catch him. Nathan Schaefer is third from Desira. Then it's Luck, Michael Cheek and Chris Wright. The battle for 8th is absolutely biblical. They've got an amazing fight coming on here. As down to the braking zone, that is the 72 of Beecroft in front of the 1 of Louis Large, and then Moorcroft in the O-plate. Then behind them, we've got Zanetti, Davis, Branfield and Whaley. Luke Oliver is trying to stay in touch, but he's lost a massive amount of ground, so the Coles Racing driver's not going to have a lot of luck. Louis Large again, he's getting desperate behind behind Beecroft, sorry. Louis Large is getting desperate, sir, behind James Beecroft. Come on, man, you're slowing us all up. Get out of the way as he tries to make a move through on the inside. But so far, so good for our race leader, Chris Thomas, as he has now got, I think, maybe 2, possibly 3 laps to go at the end of this one. So Thomas runs well. Edwards is still bearing down on him, though, trying to catch him, as Schaefer holds third to the 4 men very close behind. Jamie Desira, Alex Luck, Michael Cheek and Chris Wright. And now it looks like Alex Luck is going to make his bid on Jamie Desira, and he's there. Lovely move. That was a great run into the third hairpin, and he manages just to shut the door, but Desira gets back on the inside of the left-hander. Lovely retaliation from Desira. Jamie Desira comes back to the inside and snatches back 4th position from Alex Luck. Oh, this circuit just provides so many great overtakes. We've had amazing battles all the way through Rotax 177. Oh, and now we're going to get an immense run from Desira. Luck is going to try and come around the outside. Michael Cheek gets to the inside. They go side by side. Luck and Cheek, and he's had another incident. This time with Alex Luck. And now he's got to concede to Chris Wright. That's twice in one heat, twice in one final, but the championship leader, Michael Cheek, has been involved in an incident with another driver. And it shows the desperation from Michael Cheek. He is not in the position he wants to be in at all. Meanwhile, Yao and Winter, who collided earlier on, are having a great tussle in the back of the field. They are still battling away, those two. If they're not careful, they're going to hit each other again. But now the battle is raging for the leaders. Here comes Cole Edwards. He's got a run on Chris Thomas with 2 laps to go. They go into the penultimate lap now. And Chris Thomas has got a fend off from Edwards. Edwards is going to try the same move. And he's got there. Cole Edwards Edwards storms up the inside of the second hairpin, and he's through to the victory. What a run from Cole Edwards. He has become the master of that second hairpin. Cole Edwards has found the grip. Every time he's made a lunge on the inside of that second hairpin, he has got the job done. And for the first time this weekend, Cole Edwards is now at the front of the Rotax 177 field with no time on the clock. The last lap is going to begin, and Thomas is not going to take that lying down. Last lap begins. Chris Thomas is going to try again on Edwards. Edwards hesitant into the first hairpin. Back on the power, up towards the second hairpin. Can Thomas try the same trick on Edwards? Edwards holds to the inside line, and Schaefer's on them now. Here goes Thomas, up the inside of the third hairpin, and he's through. Schaefer gets through as well. Schaefer's through to second on Edwards. So Nathan Schaefer gets through to second, and Edwards had the victory in his back pocket, and he's down to third. So now Chris Thomas has got to hang on from Nathan Schaefer through the fast sweepers and up to the last section. But what a fantastic moment this is going to be for Thomas. Can Schaefer get there? He's going to try one last trick out of the chicane, but I think Thomas is going to do it. Chris Thomas takes that victory. What a race. Absolutely magic. Chris Thomas wags the number one finger in the air to the cameramen, and an amazing victory for Chris Thomas. We thought it had gone away from him on the penultimate lap, but he fought back with an amazing move in the third hairpin on the final lap. Nathan Schaefer had the space to get through too. They shake hands on the rolling down lap, but what a race. And that was only the first final. Rotax 177 gives us an absolutely stupendous show at Mansell Raceway. So Chris Thomas takes the victory from Jamie Desira, apparently in second place. I have a feeling that something is not quite not quite right with my timing screen. I'll refresh it. That's better. Chris Thomas and Nathan Schaefer in second from Cole Edwards and Jamie Desira. Alex Luck is fifth from Chris Wright and Michael Cheek, championship leader, only seventh. James Beecroft second in the championship, only eighth. Then it's Moorcroft who passes Louis Large. Then Colin Davis is 11th from Matteo Zanetti. Then it is Branfield and Charlie Whaley from Luke Oliver, Taylor Adams, Adam Sadler, Dan Milner, Carl Churchill, Tim Darlow, Sam Winter, Aaron Yao, and then one retirement from the race, that is Joe Pfiffner. Well, Rotax 177 delivers in spades. It is one of my favourite classes in British karting. These guys know absolutely no fear, and they will put on an amazing show. This is the class where the real legends of the sport live. You could go up and down the length and breadth of the Rotax 177 grid, and you could probably pick out half a dozen to a dozen drivers who are Formula One quality with no budget. That is how good they are in Rotax 177. And I think the front runners at the beginning of the brigade today have proven that again. Wow. We're breathless, and that was only Rotax 177 Final 1. We've still got 7 finals to come across the remaining classes, and the next one out on track is going to be Minimax, and it's been a pretty sensational race over the course of the weekend between the Minimax drivers. They've put on a pretty sensational show already, and yesterday we had some breakthrough victories across the 2 heats for young Callum Voisin of the Coles Racing team. He's really come alive this weekend. He's had a reasonable start to the season, Callum Voisin, and it's been okay. He's had top 5 runs and top 5 finishes through the course of the weekend, but it's been a really interesting one in terms of the battle for victory, because we've seen all sorts of battles, but Callum Voisin put on 2 fantastic races yesterday, and I think we're going to see some more sensational action from him today. He will start, of course, the Minimax finals, the first race, of course, from pole position, and as far as he is concerned, the mission is fairly simple. Stay where you are and hold on to the position, but it's not particularly easy to justify that, really, because there's so many competitors in this Minimax field who can be so competitive at the front end of the field, and obviously the battle is pretty much between Archie Kitching and Sam Gornall, Callum Voisin's teammates over at Coles Racing, but there are a few other drivers this weekend who have a real chance to stand up and pay attention in the Minimax final. But final one is going to be led by Callum Voisin after his 2 heat wins yesterday. Unexpectedly dominant over the course of the heats because Callum Voisin is still trying to make progress in the Minimax Championships. But the championship leaders, Archie Kitching and Sam Gornall, spent a lot of yesterday's Minimax heats battling with other drivers. So Callum Voisin was able to take the victory on both occasions. And that's a real coming-of-age moment for Callum Voisin. Very talented young kid, and great to see him up at the sharp end of Minimax. But there's at least 6 drivers in this field who can make that progress up to the front. It's been a tricky weekend for the Project One Racing team drivers, particularly for the Scotsman Tristan Rennie, former Honda Cadet O-Plate champion, of course, and having made his move into Minimax last year, he's made good progress, but this weekend he's really struggled. He had a DNF yesterday in one of the races that was red flagged off the start, and it's going to be really interesting to see what he can do to make his progress back up through the field. But the drivers are going to push a very, very hard way through the field. There's a lot of good overtaking opportunities, as we've already demonstrated here, and he's obviously going to battle his way through Tristan Rennie, but there's a few other drivers in the mix as well who want to put on a good show. But yes, at the end of that Rotax 177 heat, it is Michael Cheek who leads the championship to James Beecroft by just 5 points now, as Nathan Schaefer has moved up into 3rd in the standings in front of Luke Oliver, who's down to 274 now. Moorcroft now has 270 from Chris Ride on 267. Edwards has 265 points. Branfield and Thomas are tied for 8th in the standings on 254. And rounding up the top 10 now after his good weekend so far is Alex Luck, who has 251 points. So a really exciting battle and some fantastic performances for the drivers as they continue to charge their way further forward. But the Minimax battle is going to be a pretty exciting one, as we've seen Callum Voisin demonstrate his very quick response to the circuit. He's gelled with it very, very well, it has to be said, and one of the younger faces within the Minimax category. So it's always good to see a new winner make their way through and make good progress. So Callum Voisin has done an absolutely fantastic job through yesterday's heats, but the battle is going to be very intense in Minimax. They will have some really good progress and great performances over the course of these next 2 heats. And let's not forget, for these Minimax drivers, they're the youngest in the paddock, but these are 15-minute finals. It's very tough, considering the heat has come back to us as well now, because the air temperature has actually skyrocketed over the course of the last hour. It's up to 20 degrees Celsius now, so the track temperature, you've got to be looking at 31, 32 degrees Celsius, so the tyres are going to take a bit more of a punishing than they did over the course of the morning's warm-up session, certainly. So the drivers are going to find it very tricky at this stage of proceedings, and obviously that means that they're going to be working very hard. So a lot of good battles to come, and some good racing on the horizon, of course, is natural. But we'll see some really fast progress from all of the competitors as they battle their way through. But we've seen some really good racing and some very good action-packed performances from all of the drivers in Minimax over the course of the weekend. And there's more where that came from for certain. So the drivers are getting themselves ready in position. The final will start in Minimax in just a couple of minutes' time. I'll put us through the weekends as the championships continue.